Good morning.
Hi, everybody.
Good
morning.
Hi, good.
How do I get that picture?
The background.
Here comes Azita.
Oh, ไม่เดี๋ยวมาได้ละป้ารวนเรกละไม่ได้เนี่ยมันไม่ดังอ่ะ
แป๊บหนึ่งครับอาจารย์เขายังไม่พูดแป๊บนึง
อะไรนะฮะเมื่อกี้นี่คุณบริษัทหยุดบางสายหรือเปล่า
ไม่ครับ
อ้าวแล้วไงของเดฟมันเงียบไปอ่ะ
ไม่
ตกลงใช้ได้แล้วนะ
ใช้ได้แล้วครับ
โอเคค่ะครับเดี๋ยวยังไงก็ต้องขอถามตอนที่จบแล้ว
ครับ
Sarah and Jonathan have these lovely different backgrounds. Really nice. Can't hear you, Sarah. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, and we've been separated, which is great. So we found a way to use two different computers instead of having to be on top of each other. So.
Well, I could see that you were side by side when you did just a minute ago. Nice.
He's actually round the corner. He was helping me.
Oh, okay.
It's taken us all this time to find a way that we can sit at the same desk but with separate computers. It's not easy.
No, there's a problem with the audio because of the delay. So we have to only have one microphone on at a time, that sort of thing. So we finally figured that out.
Okay. Well, good for you. I'm pretty much at my limit here as far as my technical expertise is concerned.
Likewise. Glad you're doing better, Roti, over your symptoms. Feeling better?
Because I had some blood tests and it seems like I developed some kind of thyroid situation. Yeah.
You've had a bit of a tough run with it all.
Yeah.
Are you still feeling not so well, Roti?
Yeah, this thyroid thing is somehow keeps me tired.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. We've got Lucas today, it looks like. Hello, Lucas. Azita.
Hello, Anne. Hello, everyone.
Hello. How are you, Lucas?
Hello. Well, I'm okay.
Good. I'm glad.
Looks like Jonathan has polluted Hong Kong and Sarah has beautiful, clear air Hong Kong.
Right.
It's not pollution, it's mist.
Hi, Azita.
Yeah, I think Tanajan is ready, because there was message on the board.
สวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
สวัสดีครับ
Anyone with a question should please feel free to go ahead.
I have.
Sure, Azita.
It's from the Sutta Nipata, the Sabya Sutta. And in the commentary, it talks about the threefold perceptions: sensual perception, malevolent perception, aggressive perception. Now, I've never heard of these terms, so I'm wondering how can they be explained, Achan? Good morning, Achan.
Please say it again, one word at a time, please.
What are the threefold perceptions? And in the commentary, it mentions sensual, malevolent, and aggressive. So I don't understand what those three are.
You mean the akusala or the kusala?
Well, they all sound agusala.
It's hindrance, right? For example, now, if we think about other things, can there be the considering what is heard about? We are talking about hindrance or akusala.
Well, I'm not quite sure I understand your question, Achan.
Because the point is about akusala, right?
I guess that it is. It doesn't say agusala, but by using those three words, sensual, malevolent, and aggressive, that certainly sounds agusala.
So is akusala wholesome?
No.
So it leads to what? Which we are talking about. Whatever is akusala is unwholesome.
Oh, yes. Yes, I get it, I think. I might give a bit more explanation. It says that it talks about the influxes, which I think is translated as the asavas. Having cut off the four influxes and the two attachments with the knife of wisdom, and having dispelled the threefold perception, sensual and so forth, sensual, malevolent, and aggressive. And so, yes, I guess it does. I mean, if there is a lot of agusala, then there is the perception. There must be agusala perceptions as well.
Azita, have you got any, is there any Pali there?
One moment, there's a big truck going past. No, it
have you got
gives,
any
it says, no, it doesn't. It just gives C Vibhanga. Vibhanga. That's all it says.
And tell me, what's the sutta again?
Sabya.
Spelt?
Sabhya. Sabya.
Sabhya.
It's in
Okay,
the
thank
third
you.
section of the Sutta Nipata.
Yeah.
Page 2, Bhikkhu Bodhi's trend.
Yes.
Sarah, we're not hearing you.
It's page 241 of Bhikkhu Bodhi's Sutta Nipata, and the asavas are the influxes are the asavas. So, yes. And so I think that the point that Ajahn's making is that when there's thinking as usual about sensual objects or thinking with akusala citas, then no understanding of realities, no kusala at those moments. And so that's why it's talking about the cutting off or the eradicating of akusala.
So those three types of wrong perception, it's basically just, it's a kusala, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's the sanya with the akusala chitas.
Right.
With attachment and aversion.
Well, it does also give that as well, that the having cut off the four influxes and the two attachments, and the two attachments are craving and views. Okay.
And the last asavas are only cut off. The remaining attachment and the remaining ignorance only cut off at the stage of becoming an arahat. So they're only cut off at the different stages of enlightenment.
Okay. Thank you. That's a bit clearer. I think that was all I had on that one. Yeah. Thank you.
The point is that just not thinking about the gross akusala, but even very subtle one has to be eradicated too. For example, when we talk about the asava one by one, we can understand better that it's there almost all the time. So how can there be the eradication of such very subtle akusala, which does not appear even it's there 3 moments after seeing it's there? Otherwise, people just think about the gross akusala and how people just to do good deed and behave well and that. But that's not the teachings of the Buddha. The teachings of Buddha must be the understanding of just one word at a time, and don't underestimate the truth of it, that is so very subtle. For example, right now, who doesn't know about Nama? Everyone can say that which experiences see. But now in a day, when we wake up in the morning until falling asleep at night, what are there? See, unknown. Until the teachings just point about the very, very subtle and the gross akusala, that it can be known little by little, but still as I. That's why there's clinging to bhava, being, living, reality. See, it's there so much that it cannot be eradicated without right understanding of this very moment at all. Because the aswa is there, and in order to eradicate that without panya, it's impossible. Not knowing about aswa at all, we think that we have no kilesa, no gross kilesa, but actually there are so many different levels of akusala. Anusaya does not arise, but is there as the germ to originate the akusala, see, which is now appearing. But no one knows about attachment now, ignorance now, or aversion now. See, that's why when there is the understanding more about just one reality, it can bring about more understanding of how much akusala and how long it will take to develop understanding of reality that we used to understand by words, like nama, that which experiences. It's only thinking about that. But the nature of that which now arises and experience is not known. And that is titasawa, and clinging to the kamasawa, see, sensuous object. That's why there has to be the understanding of the words of the Buddha by way of aswa, by way of anusaya, by way of okha. It's so like a flood all day, see, something like that. That it needs to understand that actually, if there is no understanding of the nature, the true nature of that which we used to talk about, it's just like thinking about mechanics or food or how to cook and how to do. Just remember the pattern. But what about now? It takes quite a long time. But now when we remember about the asava, we know that the point is not just try to find out the asava, impossible, because it does not show up. Only that which is now appearing can it be the object of developing understanding of its nature. So avijjasava is there when there is no understanding. No question about this point?
Yes, I do have one. The avijjasawa. So when there's no understanding, there is ignorance. Is that ignorance arising, or is it just as those asavas, they're it's not arising? Is that what you're saying?
Arise, it is anusya, not asava.
Yes. When it arises.
When it doesn't arise, when the ignorance is there but not arising, when it's just latent but not arising, it's anusya. When it arises, it's asava.
Oh, okay. Right. That's cleared up that one. Yes. Thank you. Right.
Is there asava now?
Oh, most probably, yes.
Probably.
Definitely.
Anusya?
Anusya, yes, there must be, if it's arising, then there must be anusya.
It does not arise.
Anusya doesn't arise, but
when it arises, it has to be very subtle as asava. Unknown now. After seeing, hearing, only 3 moments after seeing and hearing, it's there. See, pavasava, avijjasava, tittasava, kamasava. Until it appears as object, then there can be moment of beginning to study that characteristic as it is. It cannot be changed. It cannot be taken for anything or anyone's at all. Seeing now sees. It just arises to see. If seeing does not arise, there cannot be seeing. But when it arises, there is a reality which cannot understand it. And that is what we call avijja. What Buddha taught about is the dhatu, which cannot understand the truth of that which is now appearing. So all akusala must have the avijja as the root, anusaya, condition, asava, and so on. And this is life from moment to moment now.
a moment ago, Ajahn, you mentioned that just 3 jittas after seeing or hearing, there's ignorance. And so at the moment, there seems to be a lot of seeing, you know, there seems to be seeing all the time. So, and because there's no understanding the seeing, we're just collecting more and more and more ignorance as the moments go by. Would that be correct?
Right? Adding more and more of all akusala Dhamma.
And that's why the ignorance is definitely not maybe or probably. Because 3 moments after seeing, it's there already in the sense door process. But without the anusyas, the asavas couldn't arise. So when in the sutta it talks about cutting off the asavas with the knife of wisdom, actually the anusyas have to be eradicated too, because only when there are no more anusyas, then no possibility, no conditions for the subtle clinging or ignorance to arise.
So I gather a lot of the Buddha's words in those days he was talking to quite highly developed people, because it often seems like that he's talking to people who are probably Aryans of some sort. Because in that sutta, I mean, you know, what you've just said, cutting off the influxes, means that the anusayas are also gone. So when I'm reading them, I take that for probably a lot less understanding than what the Buddha is to the people, or a lot less what am I trying to say? I'm giving it a lot less importance than what really is. That it's that the understanding that those people have is quite high, whereas in my situation, there's sometimes just stories, and I'm not quite understanding them.
We can repeat what Asachi Bhikkhu talked to Sariputta, but what about the understanding? None at all, or very little, or so high enough, great enough to really penetrate the truth. By conditions. The point is only by conditions, anatta. Without this moment of beginning to understand the truth little by little, how can be such moment? Unexpectedly.
And I think that this points out to us, like the words you were mentioning, that because the asavas are only eradicate the ignorance, and very subtle attachment is only eradicated by the arahat, as we know. So there must be ignorance now for such a long time. There must be all kinds of attachment. There must be all kinds of aversion. It's daily life, because only at that stage of becoming an arahat are the final remnants, the final anusayas eradicated. So it shows what a long way it is. But I think it's about now and about our lives. I don't think we have to think, well, for Sariputta it would be different, or for someone else, because actually the meaning is here and now, showing how quickly ignorance comes in, how quickly attachment comes in, completely unknown. So it's a helpful reminder that it's here and now, definitely not maybe.
It's like it's a case of the more we know, the more we know we don't know.
And that's really important to know. Otherwise, if someone thinks there's a lot of understanding, a lot of wisdom, completely lost. So it's good to know more and more about how much ignorance there is. Even now, at the moment of just after seeing now or hearing now in the middle of a Dhamma discussion, ignorance is there, clinging to sense objects is there instantly.
Thank you.
So now, what is not known?
Well, I could say ignorance is not known. It's not known by panya. I mean, it's there, obviously, but it's not known.
Everything, when panya is not strong enough, it's not high enough. For the word, like we used to say, nama, only that word. And rupa, it does not appear as it is. Like visible object does not appear as just only visible object. It appears as very many things around instantly, as soon as one opens one's eyes. So how much ignorance is there? Much
A
more than
very large amount.
John, when we talk about, I guess it's clearly very important to know that there is a huge amount of ignorance and attachment and wrong view and all of these things. And you've often said, if we don't know that they are there, how can they be eradicated? And that makes so much sense with all of the realities. If we don't know they're there, then how can they possibly be understood?
That's why we have to listen to the teachings of the enlightened one. What does it mean? See, any word should be investigated. Seeing right now, not self, no one. How can anyone believe? But the truth is the truth. The Enlightenment taught about the truth, that there is a reality which experiences whenever it arises. It just arises to experience and then gone. That's all. Is it not true? Because the word, the meaning of it, the truth of it can be known right now. To investigate about the meaning of it, the truth of it, at this very moment, any time, it's there to be understood. And we have to take or investigate about the truth of it right now. See, when we talk about seeing, it doesn't mean that we understand seeing itself. It's not like that at all. When we talk about seeing, it's here and now. Does it just arise to see? See, it's only the beginning to study, to understand the truth little by little. And if it's not enough understood, better and better, it's impossible to begin to study. The study is begin to have wise considering about the truth is so true. A reality arises and sees or experiences whatever is there. See? And that's not known because usually the object is known and not known as it is at all. How ignorance is there, so great, so much that it covers up the truth all the time. That's why it needs panya at level of enlightenment of the Buddha who had enlightened and taught us about the truth. Otherwise, who can have one's own thought about it, even right now? See, that's why to check or to study or to investigate each word, whether it's true because it's there to be known, it can be known. And is that the word of the enlightened one? Because we can think wrongly, even we read the word or listen to the word. That's why we have to take the depth or the profoundness of the meaning of it as well, until there is understanding of the moment of intellectual understanding that is just all about techniques or words or terms, context, like other subject that we study or learn, but not the moment of understanding the truth of it, which is another level. If there is no intellectual understanding at all, how can there be conditions for the moment of beginning to be aware? And if we don't use the word awareness, no understanding, because people use the word aware to be aware of something. But what's the meaning of aware, which is sati? That's why we have to use the Pali term to know the exact meaning of just one word at a time. Otherwise, people mistake the teachings of the Buddha that so very easy, very simple, just be aware. That's not the meaning of the word. And that's not the truth of the reality. And that's not the word of the enlightened one.
Can you speak a little bit about bhavasava? It's attachment to living, wanting to continue living, but that's
Bhavasava
yes, bhavasava.
is,
Go ahead, Ajahn.
is there now, Bhavasava?
Yes.
So is there any understanding of the moment of it's the clinging to that?
No.
That's why Buddha taught about even after seeing only 3 moments, it's there.
Mm.
Without the anusaya, when the anusya are all eradicated, no more ignorance or clinging or any akusala. And how come to be anusya? From moment of not understanding whatever is there, accumulated on and on and on, until it becomes to be asava, ready to come out as soon as it's time. After seeing 3 moments, it's there by conditions, ready to come out, to ooze, to be there, unknown, because so very quickly. Who can get the understanding of 3 moments after seeing? Because it has to be javana moments later, see? After 3 moments of seeing, asava is there as javana. Its function is to be ready to come out, rush out, or whatever, because it's there accumulated, ready to come out at moment of whatever is experienced. The voice, the visible object, the noise and smell and so on. No matter what it is, even that we don't call it anything, but it's something there. Avijjasva is there.
As more and more panya is developed, is there ever a point at which, this is with very high panya, the asavas are actually known as asavas?
Would you like to experience that? Or no matter it is now, but what is seen, which is the object, is the only thing that can be the object of understanding.
No, I guess that was just a curiosity question.
Just to know that it's there. So it's so very deep, so very profound that it needs more and more wise considering in order to understand each word as it is, so very deep. Like what is there at the bottom of the ocean. What we see is just the surface.
Yeah.
Or skin or the peel. What about deeper inside? Right now, it's just like that. There's seeing, but no understanding of so many, many things, which what arises with it, and after it, so very quickly, there is attachment and so on.
Yep.
To my understanding, and as Panya is developed, what previously was not apparent to Panya becomes apparent. So what were previously asava, something at the level of asava, can be known by Panya.
Yeah.
But if it can be known by Panya, then almost say by definition, it's no longer asava at that moment.
Okay,
But there is a point when Panya becomes fully developed at the moment of enlightenment, for example, where all the latent tendencies are eradicated. So even though they are not the object of Panya, they are eradicated.
Right, so that there are no more, as John said, germ conditions for them to arise again.
Yes, once they've been eradicated, they can't arise, obviously.
Yeah.
They are no longer accumulated tendencies.
Yes, yeah.
Also.
That's true, because they're not all anusaya. Yeah.
And for the ignorance, for example, to be fully eradicated at the stage of becoming an arahat, it has the very subtle ignorance has to have been understood to be eradicated.
Yes.
And same with the bhavasava, it has to have been understood in order to be eradicated.
Yes.
I remember the question of bhavasava came up once before, and you were asking, for an instance of what would be the object of attachment at that moment. And I was thinking about it afterwards, and I was wondering if Ajahn may be able to help with this, whether, because the asavas there is kamasava, which is attachment to sensual objects, and there is ditthasava, which is wrong view rooted in attachment. And I'm wondering if bhavasava is really any other kind of attachment that's not one of those two. So rather than, Ajahn, thank you.
When there is moment of beginning to know by word that it's attachment, see, do we have to call it whether it is what level?
Not really, or not kind. We don't have to call. We don't have to know what kind of attachment it falls under either.
And before that, can it be asava?
Yes,
Unknown.
before that, it can be asava.
Yeah.
So it's not just a matter of calling or using any word for reality, but the characteristic at that very moment is of that level. And we don't have to find out or try to measure it, but at that very moment, understanding the truth as no self has to be clear. For example, the word nama, the reality which experiences. But there are so many mental fact reality statistica like doubt is there and it shows up. But to what? I have doubt, or it's just a reality. So what is there in a day? If it's not known as it is, there cannot be the eradication of Tittasava or Tittanusia or Tuta of any degree. For example, right now, who can try to understand or to have aswa as objects? Possible. So very, very quickly, 3 moments after seeing, hearing. But when the understanding of the truth of any reality begins to develop, no word about what is there, but there can be the subtle panya to understand what is there at any moment in life. No selection, no choice, all by conditions. Otherwise, there cannot be the eradication of the self if there's not enough understanding of the paccaya, the conditions for whatever is now. Because whatever is now is so very fast arising and falling away. See? So if it's not the object of understanding, no selection, no choice, no beginning to understand the truth, that actually what is meant by the word which is used as that which experiences can be known. Just keep thinking about it all the time, but not the moment of beginning to understanding it as it experiences. What is meant by experiences, the reality which experiences.
John, a moment ago, you said something about, let's use attachment as the example. One can think, well, one can notice that there's an attachment there, but really it could just be.
Excuse me. What do you mean by that?
One can think that there is attachment now,
Can think
which is not the same as Panya understanding of attachment.
until it appears to panya.
Yes.
Ignorance.
Banya. So until it appears to Banya, then it's I. It's me.
but not known because ignorance is there.
Okay. So it's not known that it's I that's thinking this.
The eye is so very thick, very sticky, so very much amount, we cannot say how much it is at all, from moment to moment. So how much in a day? 2 days, 3 days, one life,
A
not
lot.
one life.
Yeah, a lot.
That's why to learn to understand the teaching is to let go, because it's not easy task or that anyone can do at all. It's a matter of panya and wise considering of the truth of each word, which represents the truth of our reality right now. Even that which is seen, see how much understanding of that. To know the difference between the direct awareness and understanding and just learning about it, that it's not as it is, as it appears at all. Because it does not appear as so short a moment and not just one nimitta of that reality, that particular one. So could anyone try to understand asava after a moment of saying one process?
Try? No.
Just learn to understand that which can be understood little by little. And Panya has to go through whatever is there in life, daily life. But it has to be after Vipassana Jnana, stage by stage, because Panya is not strong enough. It's not to understand the subtlety of each moment as it is, as it's there with attachment, asava.
Yes.
And that point about me was remind me of something I was going to add to the chat with Azita. We may read and think, oh, this isn't for me, I have such great asavas, or it can't be known now. But the asavas don't belong to anyone. It's not my ditasava or anyone's ditasava. And what we're reading about is dhammas. We're not reading about this person or that person. So yes, different accumulations, different interests, different understandings, but none of it belongs to anyone. So I think it's helpful when reading about any asava or any reality to remember they're just different dhammas that the understanding is getting used to, beginning to understand more and more, no matter at the intellectual level or directly or the enlightenment level. They're just different dhammas.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, very good reminder.
Otherwise,
And
it's me again when we read or hear.
My asavas.
so we're actually talking about quite subtle things, asavas and anusayas, which aren't obvious, but the obvious things, well, not, are probably gross. The sense objects. I mean, they're appearing all day long. We see, we hear, we touch. There's just those objects, and until they're known for what they are, there's no really knowing asavas. Would you say there's no knowing ignorance and subtle attachment if we don't know what seeing and visible object is? Would you say that was correct?
So this is why we the Buddha always talks a lot about seeing invisible object and these different sense experiences. And like we talked before about gross and subtle rupas, that which appears now, that which doesn't appear. So it doesn't mean there cannot be the considering of the asavas, for example, or subtle rupas that don't appear. By studying and considering, it helps to understand why there is this attachment suddenly, unexpectedly, or why there is so much ignorance completely unknown. And it helps to understand that there are just all these different dhammas, those that are more apparent and those that aren't, just arising and falling away, not belonging to anyone. But like you say, if there's no understanding now of visible object that is seen, or no understanding of seeing as a dhamma, then how can there be any understanding of the very subtle clinging, the asava?
Again, good points, because I mean, I don't think we mind too much when there's great joy and happiness, but when there's suddenly some real irritation and it's like, well, where did that come from? But you know, it's the asuras and the anusayas. So yeah, great, Sarah, thank you. I think we forget, I forget what I've learned. It just, there's a lot to take in. Yeah, thank you.
Are you saying I forget?
I did say that, Achan.
Do you know, without asava, can there be such, I say?
No, there wouldn't be.
So it's there unknown, but it's there all the time after 3 moments of experiences the object through the sensor. See? No one think about how come to have such clinging, even it's not said out or spoken out, but it's there. Asava is there. Otherwise, there cannot be such. Even we don't speak or say anything, but it's there. Without asava, can there be such thought? I see.
No.
You don't have to say, I thought, I like, anything, but it's there. Kamasava, avijjasava, bhavasava, ditthasava, depending on conditions.
Yeah, they're very good reminders. I hadn't considered that before, you know. Of course, they're there and they arise when the conditions are right. So thank you, Achan and Sarah. Very helpful.
And Zita, I think when you say forget, you are not talking about forgetting as in the function of sanya, but we're talking about forgetting as not no sati arising.
That's right. And also I would say through not knowing, not just, you know, no sati, but not knowing.
Yeah, when there's not knowing, then there's no sati.
Yeah, true. Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. So the dosa is not included in the asava. Does that mean that dosa doesn't arise in the sense door processes?
What about the idea of I have dosa? The I is asava. But there must be dosa, patikhanusaya, see? But it's not that which ooze instantly after 3 moments of seeing, hearing, so forth.
Okay.
Just on that point, Ajahn, I remember in the old days, sometimes we would discuss the example of when there is thunder, for example, loud noise, and instantly there is dosa. And I think,
and before that,
instantly there's sound heard.
and before that, after 3 moments of hearing the sound.
Sound, yes. So you used to give that example of how this hearing of sound and instantly dosa, even in the sensed or process. So I was also interested in this point that Tam mentioned, because no asava.
When we don't talk about the details of the 14 akusala cetasika.
Right. Just we can just say the asavas are there. Yeah. No need to pinpoint and work out exactly when the first dosa arises. Otherwise, it's the story again. But anyway, the asavas are oozing out instantly. We know that.
And just because the asavas don't include dosa doesn't mean there can't be very low-level, subtle dosa arising. But the fact is that they're not included for mention by the Buddha. And there may be reasons why he mentions particular realities as asavas and not others.
But John, what I'm hearing is that before there can be dosa, there must be the other asavas arising, right?
You are hearing that? Well, could you explain that a bit further?
No, since as Tam was saying, there is no dosa asava, and Ajahn, what I'm hearing from Ajahn is that, for example, she gave the example of when dosa arises, there's also, she gave the example of I am angry. So that as an example of attachment, the asava arising before there's dosa. So what I'm understanding is that since dosa there's no dosa asava, and we're saying after 3 moments, there's already the asavas. It means the asavas, it's either the one of the 4 asavas arise before the actual dosa arises.
Are we not trying to measure the level of realities, no matter it's kusala or akusala? See, but the truth is that when we talk about just one process, there are conditions for each one. When it's process of dosa, it's there, the process. We're talking about that. And do we also talking about other processes before or after?
I don't see why we need to talk about other processes, Ajahn.
Because it doesn't appear.
Yeah, it does not appear, and also we are here trying to understand just one reality.
Yeah, and who knows that aswa is the oozing, the reality which comes out as soon as there is the experiences of the sense object in the process of sense process. See, but when we talk about dosa process, there cannot be aswa in that process. But what about before that and after? Because how many processes now? And that which cannot be known must be there. And that which can be known, like dosa, is there at that moment. No aswa, because dosa is there. Is it possible?
There can only be understanding of what appears.
Otherwise, you can know the moment of asava. But in reality, does anyone, after birth, Pawankas, and then what is about the first process, mind process? Who knows? That's why Buddha taught about asava, which can not appear as dosa and other moment which grows akusala. When it's gross, it can be known, or when it's strong enough. But when it's so just like asava, can anyone know now why there's the idea of I all the time? What is seen is a moment of experiencing an object with the accumulation of dosa or lopa, the anusya condition. That process we're talking about, when lopa is there or when dosa is there. But what about other processes in life? Unknown. That's why that is the idea of I all the time, even we don't speak out. But there must be anusya to condition the process of asava and other process too. Who can say that there are more asava than four? See, that's why we have to consider the word about the truth right now and about the Buddha's word too, not our own words. We cannot know enough as him. How many processes now unknown? See?
Lucas, Azita was mentioning forgetfulness. Did you want to bring up more about your topic of forgetfulness too, that you mentioned?
Well, why not? But just that's what I asked him before on the group. I think I mean that that was about well, we talk about the sati when it's sati, yeah. Then it's a reality, yeah, Dhamma. But whenever we talk about the conventionally about the forgetfulness, it's actually not a reality, isn't it? That was just a thinking like that.
So when you said you would like to talk about forgetfulness, what do you mean by forgetfulness? Are you talking about the reality or the conventional
No,
idea
because
of
I think you
forgetfulness?
clarified that before on the group about the sanya, yeah, that sanya must be there. And that's maybe in conventional sense, the forgetfulness may mean many things, even thinking and remembering something that is not a Dhamma, yeah. Then it's probably also something that we call forgetfulness, yeah, just lack of sati and memory and everything.
So that's
what I can think of now. But is there any specific question? I don't know about that. If there is any question about this, you know.
So the point that I was making on the list is what we conventionally think of as forgetfulness, like forgetting to set the alarm, forgetting where we put the keys, forgetting the names of our friends. This is just the conventional ideas, but the forgetfulness that the Buddha taught about is at moments of akusala, when the sanya is akusala, and when there is no guarding of the sense doors, when there are no kusala chittas arising. So at moments of when the asavas are there, when there is attachment, even however subtle, or ignorance, however subtle, then it is akusala sanya at those moments. There is no sati at those moments. It is forgetfulness. And at moments of when kusala chittas arise, like when moments of kindness, moments of understanding, regardless of whether one has any idea where one's keys are or conventional ideas. At those moments of kusala, sati is there guarding, and the sanya is kusala.
Right, and also there is the Yoniso Manasikara Dhamma, yeah? Ayoniso Manasikara Dhamma. So that also takes some kind of, it's also important, I think, in the teaching of the Buddha, because when we talk about the awareness, yeah, forgetfulness, non-forgetfulness. So, yeah, I think the Buddha also said a lot about Yoniso Manasikara and Ayonisa Manasikara. One is to be done and another not.
And again, conventionally, people have different ideas, like people who've read something of the Buddha's teachings and they say, oh, unwise attention, like when dropping the food or breaking the plate, they say, oh, ayoniso manasikara, or unwise attention. But again, ayoniso manasikara refers to akusala citas, not to conventional ideas. And yoniso manasikara refers to kusala citas, especially those with understanding and sati. So nothing to do with conventional ideas of attending or not attending. But perhaps Ajahn would like to add more.
Can you tell me about the point, please?
I don't get that myself, but I think we just talked now about the forgetfulness, but about this Dhamma, Yonisa Manasikara, and Ayonisa, that's only for the understanding to arise, yeah?
Can we understand that which does not appear as object?
That is not there, then cannot be understood what is not there, Tanajan.
So what about understanding that which is now appearing in order
Yeah,
to...
that's the only option, I think.
It's just keep on thinking about
Right, that's it.
What about understanding that which is
Yeah,
now...
I think the right understanding, even the intellectually, is the most important, you know, now.
We think that we understand intellectually, but about the
Right.
story or about the truth.
Right, yes.
Reality. For example, let's come back to Ashwa again. At this moment, there can be moment of feeling that can be known, right? If it's the object. But what about while we are talking, there's many, many moments of uncountable seeing too. And what about that? See? The 3 moments after seeing, what is there? Unknown, right? When we like something like the food, we take up it, just put it in the mouth. And what about the seeing? So many, many moments of seeing. What about 3 moments after that? When it does not appear, can it be the object of understanding? Even that which appears, like seeing, is not known, as it's not self yet. So it's only imagination of thinking about this and that all the time, as long as the characteristic of a reality does not appear as the object of awareness. We mean sati. See? And there are many levels of sati. At any moment of wholesome citta, there must be sati and other wholesome cittasika as well. But what can be known is only that which is the object. So at moment of sati appears as object, as not the just intellectual understanding right now, but it's there as it is. It is aware of a reality. Then the characteristic of awareness appear, no doubt about what is awareness. So what we are talking deals with realities right now, but not anyone appear as not self, as it is. That's why it is the beginning to let go the idea of wanting or trying to know that which does not appear as object and study that which is now appear as it is. And by then there can be more subtle understanding of what is there, which is not the object appearing now. For example, lopa, so very tricky. It's there. No one knows. And only Panya can let go when it knows that it's that which cling, which covers up the truth. So can we say that the true Panya begins at moment of Satipatthana? Because it's not just thinking about the Nama and the Rupa and whatever is heard, but that very moment it is there to be aware with understanding, which are conditioned by intellect understanding enough to let go. The clinging to that which appears from one moment to another moment very rapidly succeeded.
I have a comment or a query. I've written down in my notes, the truth is the truth, no matter how it appears or not. It will only be known by developing panya. So I haven't clarified it in my writing, but when we say the truth is the truth, can you explain that a little more, please?
Is there a seeing now?
Yes, there is seeing now.
Is it true?
Yes,
Oh.
it must be true because there is seeing, yes.
So the truth of it has to be its truth.
Yes, yeah, I think it's a really good comment because, you know, in daily life, things just roll on, and occasionally I will think, well, it can't be any other way. And I'm thinking maybe that's what I'm thinking of as the truth. Whatever happens in a day happens because it can't be any other way. When it happens, it's already arisen and probably gone already. So
the point is that even if one has never heard the Buddha's teachings and has no interest, even if we're talking about the life of an insect or in any plane, seeing is still seeing, hearing is still hearing, attachment is attachment, not self. So the truth about the realities, the ultimate realities, are just the same, regardless of whether there has been any hearing about the teachings or not. It doesn't change. Life doesn't change. Seeing is still seeing. Hearing is still hearing, no matter there's no understanding or enlightened understanding.
But who knows? See? Not even thinking about it at all. So what Kun Ashoka just said must be by conditions. If there is no hearing and developing the understanding, even just little by little at time. There cannot be conditions to have such thought. That's why that is the beginning of understanding about the conditions. No matter what, it's conditioned. Such thinking, liking, disliking, conditioned by conditions. Without the proper conditions, that cannot arise at all. And this is a little letting go to condition the moment of no self at all. Little by little.
And if there's no understanding, well, the truth is the truth. But if there's no understanding, then what's the point? What's the point of any reality arising and falling away if no understanding is developed, if there's no accumulation of kusala, no leading to the path, no real panya begins to develop. Like one can read about all the truths and the teachings, but if there's no understanding, if it's just read like a cookbook, then it's useless.
Thank you.
And just when Azita was starting to speak, it looked like you were trying to speak, but your microphone wasn't on. So I could see your mouth moving away, but no sound was coming out. If you want to try it again. We can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
John had asked a question generally, which I can't remember what it was, and I was trying to answer it, and then Azita came in, and I can't catch it again. I can't remember, Sarah. Sorry.
Just so that you know you weren't being ignored.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I think when Ajahn was asking, is there seeing now? Another answer would be that there must be, because there appears to be. But what the interesting thing about the truth of seeing is that it's quite different from what we take seeing to be. So the idea that I am now seeing is not actually anything to do with the reality of seeing. And now that we learn that what we take for seeing is just thinking about the visible object that follows after the seeing, then we would have to really say, well, there must be seeing, although it's not yet known, or it's not known at this moment.
Or there must be seeing because I think I see you. There are people and things.
Yeah, there must be seeing because there is the thinking about what has been seen, even though the moments of seeing themselves are not apparent except to awareness and understanding.
Right.
But John, someone might ask, there's wonder about thinking about unicorns. There's no unicorn, but there's thinking about unicorns.
But that's not thinking about things that have been seen.
Right, but it's
That's
not
just imagining, right, from a description.
So it's not really just because there's thinking about seeing that there is that's evidence of seeing having taken place. It's because there is some understanding about seeing, or we've heard about seeing, that we can say that there is seeing.
That's right. That, as I said, we've heard that. For now, that since we've heard the Dhamma, we understand that what we previously took for seeing is not the actual moment of seeing, it's just the thinking about what has been seen. And that is still the everyday reality for us, but with some understanding that the actual moment of seeing is different from what we would normally take to be seeing.
I mean, I was thinking that this this statement which Azita brought up, that the truth is the truth, it's only meaningful for someone who's heard the Dhamma and had at least some understanding. Otherwise, it's not meaningful.
Someone else may have a different idea of the truth being the truth. Yeah, quite so. But in the context of the Dhamma, we understand what it means. The truth is something that can be verified by direct experience.
May I ask a question about Vayodhatu again? Because in English, the translation of Vayodhatu is usually motion. And sometimes I heard it translated as pressure as well. The trouble I have with motion is it always involves some different moments, like move from here to there. So how can it ever be directly known, because it's already like two different moments? So I wonder whether pressure would be a better word for that, or I would like to hear a chance comment and everyone's comment on this point.
I think, Tam, it's the word is probably what's causing the confusion, motion. But actually, it's just to make the distinction between two different strengths of the same reality, like heat and cold, hardness, softness. So motion and pressure too have, like, we can distinguish in two different in terms of intensity, perhaps. So, but what we can understand is that when we're saying motion, we're not talking about the conventional idea of motion, of moving object from one place to another, but it's something that is experienced through the body sense.
Yes.
So just using pressure probably is not enough, because pressure is just, I mean, I'm talking from ignorance, of course, but just in theory, maybe in the actual experience, there is a difference between pressure and motion.
So how is motion known in terms of reality? Because since it's not the same meaning than in conventional ideas, so how do we understand? Because now when we say something is moving, like my lips are moving or whatever that is moving, we are talking about conventional ideas of motion.
Yeah, that's conventional idea. And like I said, what is actually the reality of it, the wind element, is experienced through body sense, not through observation, through visible, through seeing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just experienced through the body sense. It cannot be seen, cannot be heard, cannot be smelled, cannot be tasted.
Yes, it's quite different from what you suggested about from one place to another or that kind of idea, but it's the tangible object that can be experienced that's not heat or cold and not hardness or softness. So it doesn't matter what it's called, but it has to be just that tangible object, like, for example, touching the computer keys. Is there a tangible object, another tangible object that is experienced? Or moving one's arm to the left, another tangible object that's experienced, no matter what word is used.
Yes.
When I hear or read motion, I don't think about going from one place to another in this context at all.
I think describing it as something that is experienced through the body senses, but that is not hardness or softness or heat and cold. I think it might be a good way to understand it better.
I think that Tom, that's a good question. I usually take it as just sometimes there are words that are translated and they seem rather awkward or strange, and I don't pay too much attention to them. I find personally the word pressure more helpful. It's in Pali they call it Patabharamana. So that refers to 3 of the 4 Mahabhutas that can arise by way of the body sense. And as we know, it's not so much the word, it's always the understanding that's the important thing. But I think it's a good point you've made, because I don't want to hear the word motion. I'm inclined to be in agreement with you. I think of movement, from one place to another, and I find pressure as a translation more helpful. But I know Tanajan would remind us that the reality that appears by way of body sense, which can be any of those 3 Mahabhutas, that's the important thing. But yeah, I think it was a good question.
Thank you, Sundra.
Can that which is hard move?
No.
The other tangible object has its own characteristic, but there can be the sense of moving, right? Or it's only just there at all. See, stretching out one's hand, see, how come? Can the solidity move? It has its characteristic as to be just solid, hardness only. It cannot move. But how can that move? We don't talk about the action which is seen, but the moment of feeling. That's why we have the word like breath. It is not just there, but in and out. But actually, even in and out, it's not just the characteristic of that which we take for in long and out long, but it's there with other rupa. But its quality is that it is pressure. When something is so tight, hard to open, it's hard appearing, but the tightness, the pressure is there too, different from other thing which is hard, right? So it's our daily life, and we have doubt about the word, but the truth is that it's moved, but the movement is not only the Vajutatu. The other tattoo are there too, the other 3. But that which can condition, that which can move must be. Otherwise, not the movement cannot be at all, right? But we can move we can swallow, we can drink, we can do anything because of that particular rupa, which it depends on whether it appears or not. Without the word, we can experience it, but ignorance is there, not understanding it as it is, that which has the quality of moving. Because when we talk about moving, it is not still. For example, hardness cannot move, and other Mahaputarupa cannot move. But what is meant by moving? When we mold something like a pot, see, it moves so that it can become that quality which is different from before. So it's quite unknown by thought only, but it has to be following the truth, whether it's the movement, what can make it move, something can leave move, but it has Vayutatu. See, it's moved by wind or whatever, but the reality is that makes it no change because it's moved all around to keep uh, that shape to be such, not different. See, everything is so very detailed, fine, very fine, and very subtle to understand. For example, even right now, even one sits still, there must be that reality too, but it cannot be known at moment of touching when it does not appear. While one is walking, see, what is there? Hardness, softness, or that which is not hard, but it's there. Just stretch your hand. Is it hard or cold? But what is there? There must be a reality which keep on at moment when it arises to mold or to turn around or to move to be in that shape. So it's moment to moment, arising and falling away all the time, as the visible object condition the shape and form to be known as something. So it's there, which is different from hardness and other tattoo, that it can make such be known as movement, as movement. All dhammas are so very subtle. As much as we can understand from the word and consider the truth, which is now moving, see, and the word of the Buddha, the enlightenment, because no one can think by one's own to understand each reality or all realities as Buddha. Anyone would like to experience it, or when it's there, no understanding, or try to use the word, or no matter what is there, it's different from hardness and heat.
Ajahn, from what I'm hearing, it seems like now I'm thinking about Tam's question, and it now sounds different. And I think I know where she's coming from, because from your description, you seem to be saying that when there's touch, the actual experience, the characteristic is of pressure. But when we think in terms of its function, as in how the hand moves and all that, then we can then think in terms and use the word motion. Is that correct?
So Ken, that's interesting that you heard it that way. That was not how I heard it. I'm not saying it's what you heard is yeah, who knows. What I heard Tanajan saying is that all these realities are very subtle, and even the more I think about the word pressure, in English it can mean a type of movement. It's a kind of give, if you like. It gives something. So, but the reality is going to be very different. They're very subtle. So at the moment of experiencing hardness now, or pressure now, if you like, it's very different from the conceptual idea of pressure, or motion. So I think each of those three contactable Dhammas, Pottaba Ramana as they're known as, have got very distinct characteristics that are very different from the labels that we traditionally give them. They can be helpful to a point, but they are not the reality. You can't describe, well, you can kind of talk about a reality, but it's not the experience of that reality, which I would understand would get better and better as Panya gets keener and keener over time. That reality will become more clearer. However, with different words, I think we'll always be kind of stuck in a way with trying to figure out things. And as we know, we can't understand reality by trying to figure them out. So just very briefly there, just to sum up, what I heard Ajahn saying is these realities are very subtle, and sometimes words will often fall short. And sometimes, and also I come across many words, I think, well, that's very strange translation. Like we know about the word Vattapana, and I don't want to go into it right now, but even the word Sampaticha has nothing to do with receiving. So I don't understand on that one. But there's all sorts of words and translations that are rather strange. And of course, it's only going to be with time and the very, very, very gradual and slow development of Panya that some of these realities can become clearer.
When you touch the balloon, it's different from the touch the cushion, right? Or sometimes the cushion is just like as a balloon too. That's right.
Well, I think, sorry.
It's different. So what is the difference? There must be the reality which makes it different, right?
Isn't that thinking, Tanajan? Like I think that's a good
Not
example that you've given.
The balloon, and you know that it's so firm. Or sometimes the flesh or when you touch someone, it's so very what you call like a balloon, and the other is very, very weak, very, very soft.
Isn't that thinking, Tanajan?
Well, like now, just when one has hands on the keys of the computer or hands on the notebook or hands on the table, the Potaba Ramana, the tangible object, is different at that moment. So no matter rough, smooth, hard, soft, any motion or pressure or not, it's a different tangible object.
I think, Sarah, the example you give is a good one. I think the comparison is better to make between a balloon and a keyboard rather than a cushion, because cushion reminds me of softness rather than an aspect of Vayodhatu. So your example, if I touch a balloon, what's experienced seems to be pressure, and when I press the key down, that seems to be motion. Is this what you're saying?
Even not pressing the keys down, just touching on the keyboard, there is a movement, there is a different tangible object than when touching the notebook to the side. So it's not just thinking, because there is different tangible objects that are experienced at different moments because of these different rupas. So it's just that which is experienced at that moment, the tangible object, no matter what it's called, instantly.
And actually, it's not just the keyboard, that we have the skin too, and the skin also, causes resistance, and so
Something rough, it's different again. So the point is, it's about understanding what appears, not about understanding the word.
Because with the balloon or the skin, for instance, you can touch and you could feel softness or you could feel pressure.
And I'm not talking about the skin as in one hand touching another hand. I'm saying that,
I understand that. Back to my balloon example. There's two sides to that. There could be softness or pressure, depending on, I guess, conditions as to which you'd feel.
And what is the condition?
Tangible object, body sense, and the chitta.
What are the tangible objects?
With the balloon,
Anything.
softness or pressure.
So it's different, right?
Yes, it's different.
And it can be touched. That condition, different kind of feeling of touching different things.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Different moments, softness or pressure or coolness, different moments.
Yes, yeah.
Could we say that without motion pressure, like if there was no motion pressure, nothing would move, it would all be still? Now, I was just watching a little insect flying around. If there was no motional pressure, there would be none of that. There'd be no movement at all.
I was thinking, Azita, sorry to interrupt, about vibration, maybe better. Vibration, vibrates.
Funny you should say that, Lucas, because soon as motion and pressure comes up, I remember a trip in India years ago when we were on a very rough road for many hours, and we were agreeing with each other, this has got to be motion and pressure. But of course, it was a comedy situation in a way. But yeah, vibration could be another word.
All right, Azita, okay.
Yeah, I think the main thing, Lucas, is that it is quite subtle. It's not like hot, cold is not so subtle, but this motion pressure is subtle, but it's obviously there. Otherwise, there's no movement of anything. That's how I think of it.
But as long as it can be touched, it's not as subtle as the apotatu. See, who knows if Buddha didn't teach.
And apotatu is the water element. Tamaha?
It's not the tangible object. It's not the potaparatana.
Yes, it cannot be experienced. Only through the mind door can it be experienced.
And what can be the object of mind through the senses in daily life?
All the through the mind, or all of the objects appearing through the senses can be known by mind door.
How many rupas in a day?
7.
That's all.
That's amazing. We make up such great stories about mere 7 rupas. Thank you for the reminder.
And that reality which vibrates can condition moment of what we say movement. But it's there in each rupa, in each kalapa of rupa.
But not as obvious as hardness or heat. Could we say that?
it appears when we try to what you say, jump or something like that. See, but we use the word jump. But what is there? For Mahaputtarupas, from moment to moment, and it has different characteristics. So that which can vibrate or move or whatever we call it is that. Otherwise, nothing can be there. As we think or say, move or movement.
Tom, does that make it clearer for you?
Yes, definitely. I appreciate all the exchanges, and I think it made things much clearer from different points. Yes, definitely very helpful. Thank you, everyone. I also, like Sukin, I also believe in the understood what Ashan said in the same way. Of course, I also understood that she said everything is very subtle and all the other things, but somehow I got to the same understanding than Sukin also. And I think what Sarah said about whatever name it is, but it's experienced through the body senses, not hardness or not heat or cold. And I think that is also very relevant. So yes, I think that was really, really good conversation.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up the question, because I think it's been a good little topic, something that I don't think about very much, but it's obviously going on all of the time, really, because there's always movement of body, of all sorts of things. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Asita.
And talking about India as you were, Azita, what I remember is I think it was in Lumbini, you actually brought up the same question about Biodhatu and about understanding it. And I remember Ajahn's answer was that, which was a good reminder for me at the time, was that when there's trying to find it or trying to know it or trying to experience it, then it's self again. It's not understanding naturally the tangible object that just appears. So that's why I mentioned, well, whatever tangible object, it's there. It can be understood when it appears, that reality, no matter the name or the label, because otherwise, if we're trying to find the biodata or putting our hand out, trying to experience the pressure or the vibration, then it's I following a practice, trying to do something again.
Until that is there now, is known as nothing. It's gone. But there are different realities conditioned to arise and fall away. That is the understanding of each word of the Buddha.
I think they've been good questions, because yes, we talk about subtleness, the subtleness of the rupas and of jittas and jitasikas, but if we don't talk about it and hear what they really are, then there would be no understanding. Yes, I understand there has to be accumulations of understanding from the past, but so often these things are forgotten, and if we hear again and again, I think it's very beneficial. It helps to remember that these things are real. They rise and fall away, maybe not experienced exactly with panya, but certainly there's an intellectual understanding that the truth is the truth and cannot be changed.
And Azita, you bring the idea of subtleness. And earlier when you mentioned this, and I was thinking, I understand we hear about subtle rupas and subtle this and gross this, that, but actually everything is subtle. Visible object is subtle since there's no understanding it. So the Dhamma is subtle.
Yeah, Kim, good reminder, because yeah, visible object is subtle. I mean, I'm thinking, you know, visible object, but visible object is just one moment of seeing, really. I mean, what we take for seeing is a bunch of thinking and concepts, and but yeah, that one moment of seeing visible object is extremely subtle. Thank you for the reminder.
And this moment is the accumulation of understanding conditions because it's the second vipassana. How come if there's no understanding of each reality as it can arise only by its proper conditions and then gone? Otherwise, how can there be letting go? Even the reality of nama and rupa appears, but from understanding and firm confidence, firm understanding of all the conditioned reality, it can let go that very moment to come to higher understanding, much deeper and deeper, before what we are talking about can appear as arising and falling away, the absolute truth. Otherwise, there might be doubt about and how it can be the second vipassana jhana, paccaya parikkhana jhana.
Ajahn, I'm missing something here from what you just said. You were talking about the second vipassana.
Vipassana jhana, paccaya parikkhana jhana.
Okay, can
The
you speak?
the understanding of the conditioned nature of realities.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And if there's no understanding more about the conditions for whatever arises and appearing now, it's impossible to let go when the moment of enlightenment, the characteristic of nama and rupa.
I see. Because otherwise,
Doubt is there.
doubt would be there even and taking it for self.
Mhm. Until the moment of lokuttara makkacitta.
Yes.
So the second vipassana jnana understands the conditionality of Dhamma, right? Like the conditions for seeing at this moment, something like that, Ajahn?
Because there must be the truth of reality appearing to be known as paccaya too. Without paccaya, that cannot arise at all. So each one is different, but paccaya, it's not the word, but the understanding of the characteristic of each reality which appears to be object of clear understanding, vipassana jnana, before it can let go more and more, further and further, until there is no more doubt and titi of whatever is now appearing in daily life. It has to be so natural too, because they are dhammas. If there's no understanding of the truth of it in daily life, how can there be clear understanding? So instead of thinking of vipassana jnana, what about understanding little by little until it's so firm and clear, little by little, different stage from intellectual understanding to moment of direct understanding with awareness. Then the characteristic of awareness appears as that is that, no word. Nobody can change its characteristic, which has to arise with panya only, but different degrees of panya. Very, very weak in the beginning, followed by doubt and thinking a lot, like now. There can be some understanding of sati, that it arises with wholesome citta, but when it does not appear as object, it's not direct understanding of the nature of that, which we use the word sati. So we understand from reading, considering, and at moment of understanding, sati is there, but it does not show up because it's not direct awareness with understanding of our reality right now.
And that showing up or not showing up, the sati arising or not arising, appearing and not appearing, each reality is conditioned as it is at that moment. So that's why if there's trying to experience Vayodhatu or anything, it's not, it's the opposite of understanding the conditioned nature of reality at this moment.
And this is the only path leading to understand what is now appearing clear until it shows up as it is, as no one. How can there be anyone when it's there, very clear as it is? Is there as one now?
Yes.
We don't have to say because it does not appear as object, but it's there because there is the I all the time because of aswa, ditthasava, avijjasava all the time when it's there unknown as it is.
Ajahn, when there is doubt, is that because ditthasava has arisen?
Doubt about what?
About reality, like about the path, about the reality, about what's
What
now.
about now there is seeing? And
Yes, right now it's
after seeing,
yeah.
is there sampadichana, santilina, votapana too?
No. I'm not talking about doubt as in that, because that's not experience. I'm talking about seeing now,
Yes.
uh, whether it's real.
Seeing?
Yes. I'm saying, for example, when there's doubt like that, is that because ditthasava has arisen?
When there's doubt, doubt arises. So it appears as doubt, but no understanding that doubt is not me.
Right. And when there's no understanding that doubt is not me or seeing is not me, then there is more it's more liable to be more doubt. There's liable to be more doubt because of no understanding.
It is about that on and on and on. Doubt is always there. That's right. Doubt is eradicated at moment of Lokuttara Magga, Sotapatti Magga. And the subtlety of doubt is there when it's so very, very little about the truth of that reality which hasn't shown up yet.
What I've noticed, whatever that means, is that often in the questions we ask, there's doubt already.
Yes, because there must be doubt of sanya, vedana, any khanda when it does not appear as it is. Even right now.
And they're two different anusiyas, ditthi and vicikicca, doubt, but they're both eradicated at the same moment of becoming a sotapanna. So I think even though different realities arising at different moments, but closely related, for example, whilst there's the idea of self, then there's doubt about whether the seeing now is really conditioned, whether it's result of karma, or whether there is ditthasava at this moment, or whether biodhatu can be experienced. So I think it's different moments, but closely related and eradicated at the same time, because when there's no more ignorance about self, then no doubt about the nature of namas and rupas, about different realities and their conditioned nature.
As long as there is still the idea of self, there must be doubt.
To add to your comment on doubt, Sukin, occasionally, very, very occasionally, there's a thought arises. What if everything I've heard about the Dhamma is just another conspiracy theory? And it quickly disperses, but I'm always surprised when there is this doubt? What if this is not true at all? So that's it. It frightens me a little bit, but it quickly goes away because, well, I don't know why it does, but yeah, that's a doubt that I've had on occasion.
But you can see that if there's understanding of that present moment, that very moment, then that answers the question. I mean, it is true.
It's just another Dhamma that's anatta. So then,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's probably what happens is that, oh, well, he's just this is doubt because doubt has not been eradicated. So, yeah.
Or if it is just a conspiracy theory, it's a better one than all the others.
So you're just living in that era, Azita.
thank you very much,
They're good
Ajahn.
comments.
Swadika.
Welcome, my cup of tea. Swadika.
See you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ajahn.